this. Did you go right from Loki to this?
Um,
Did you have?
I'm trying to remember. No, I had about a year in between where I did commercials.
Mm,
Trying to think what else I did. If I did anything else in between there. I can't remember. I think it may have just been commercials. Yeah.
yeah. And how much prep did you have for this?
Let's see. I think I started in, gosh,
I know it gets hard.
I think it may have been like the around now, actually, like around now 2 years ago.
Mm,
But we were originally going to be shooting much earlier, and then we pushed um, about a month into it, I think. So it ended up being a little bit better. And then I think we started shooting. God, I'm so terrible at this stuff. I
I
can't even
know.
remember.
No, because it all blends together.
Yeah, I
And
think we
then,
may have shot in April, but I feel like it was later than that, actually. I can't remember.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Did it feel like enough time?
Um, no,
No.
no, it
Okay,
didn't.
yeah. No.
I mean, I think we had some challenges. We had a lot of scheduling challenges because of cast availability.
Mm,
So I think there was enough prep time. The problem was um, that we needed like half or more of our sets, and really all the more complicated ones, we needed them ready in the first
mm.
month, basically.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was tough.
I'm wondering how much stage space you had for these because these are giant sets. I mean, I'll get to the building in a second, but like
Sure.
these are fantastic, fantastic sets that are huge.
Yeah, I think we had like 4 stages all the time and about another four for part of the time. And we had two backlots. So we had like the Times Square backlot, which is our larger backlot. And then we had the Yancy Street backlot, which was our smaller one.
Mm,
Um, and then we had a few locations as well.
snugged in there. But I'm sure when you didn't want it, I'm sure you had to prep, dress, and design a location in the middle of like everything else. I'm
Yeah, it
sure.
was a little tricky because the locations, the two bigger ones were far. One was a 3-hour drive from
Oh,
London, and the other was in Spain, so we had to fly.
oh, well, that's not too bad. I'm in Spain.
Mm.
Um, so you're like this sort of retro futurism design that you have here.
Yes.
Was that always the plan, or did you have to sell this?
No, I mean, it was the plan. When I got on the job, we knew that the movie was meant to be set in a kind of a parallel 1960s.
Hmm,
So that was kind of in the DNA of the story. Um, so the idea was there. We just had to find the precise kind of alchemy of our version of retrofuturism and what are we keeping, what's purely from the period and what is the futurism part of retrofuturism, you know?
right. Um, did you find it uh easy to do that? I mean, because you're creating a whole nother language of design,
Mm.
which is very awesome. I mean, it's super awesome, but in the same sense, it's like, man, we got to do this whole movie and I got to come up with all this.
But that's the fun part. That's the
Yeah.
gift of it,
Yeah.
getting to do that. Yeah, I mean, it's stressful because I remember those first couple of months are super stressful because you're trying to crack a language for the Baxter Building itself, the Baxter apartment itself, uh, the whole of what New York looks like what is a retrofuturistic world and New York look like. And then on top of that, there's the Fantasticar,
Yeah.
which has to be designed, and the Excelsior, um, which has to be designed. All of those things, with Reed's Lab, they all have to connect and feel like they were designed by the same hand, because the idea is that Reed Richards is the kind of designer behind
Mm,
um, the Baxter Building, the Baxter Lab, all the technology, like this kind of portal that we're looking at there in front of him, the
mm,
Baxter apartment, of course, all the interior architecture, but also the Fantasticar and the Excelsior.
yeah.
All of those things have a kind of a through line. And so, for me, it was very helpful. I had some very kind of clear architectural references that I was using as a lighthouse for architecture and industrial design form language. That was Eero Saarinen's work,
Hmm.
um, and of course Oscar Niemeyer's work. Both of those guys to me represent a sort of elevated and honed version of the kind of futuristic design language that was
Yeah.
sort of started in the 50s, or maybe even a little bit before, but I think it was like in the 60s that it was refined to this really elegant and much less kind of campy thing where it was dynamic, super energetic curves and forms, but a lot of restraint in terms of complexity and kind of zaniness.
Yeah.
Simple but powerful curves.
Yeah. I mean, I so wish like a design stayed on this track. Do you know what I mean? I wish that
Yeah, me too. Yeah, yeah, I said the
I
same
get
thing.
so
Yeah.
disappointed in like
Yeah.
what the 70s did they just no one what happened? Like
Yeah.
you had it. And I so wish residential and the regular vernacular of us had this much taste to it. And I know it's not
Yeah.
for everyone, but it's not in abundance as I feel it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know what you mean. I do feel like it was like a peak, aesthetic peak. And it's not just in architecture and decor, but you look at industrial design, you look at car design, you look at the
Yeah.
scale of like headlights and
Oh my God.
taillights and
Car design.
door handles, like how much more delicate
Yeah.
everything was. And I know some of this is safety standards and other kind of logistical parameters of the modern era, but of course in fashion as well, like
Yeah.
I feel like the best suits was definitely from the
Yeah.
60s
Yeah.
still. So yeah.
And and
I've got a picture of Marcello Mastroianni on the wall here, and I
oh,
feel
well, then,
like
yeah,
yeah,
best
like
man.
he he wore it the best maybe. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you have fun with like, I can't tell if it is wallpaper. I mean, I know it's supposed to be mosaic back there,
Mm.
but you also did a lot of wallpaper design throughout that.
Yeah, so that is a technique that we kind of invented on Loki actually, and they are mosaics, but they're dimensionally printed mosaics. So
Oh,
what I mean by that is that they're designed in vector graphics like you would design a wallpaper, but the tiles and the grout are separate, and the tiles are all hand colored. By hand, I mean they're not a repeated pattern because if there was a repeated pattern, it would look fake. So they're kind of each one is calibrated and manipulated by the graphic artist. There's a huge amount of work in building the file, but once you have the file, you basically output these things on what's called a dimensional printer, which is basically a large scale 2D printer
oh,
that you can stack the pigment on. So after you do that, you end up with something where the tiles are raised above the grout surface. So it's actually like a three-dimensional print. But it's on a substrate that can take a curve. As you can see, these walls are curved. And then we put in grout, real grout,
oh,
over
wow.
and wipe it off the surfaces of the tiles. So you end up with a very, very realistic mosaic. It's um it's a really, really great effect. It's on Loki, we actually did these in the time court. We
Hmm.
did them on these 3 foot wide and 16-foot long panels. It was a single, we ordered special ordered 16-foot long MDF and printed directly on it. So there was no seam.
Oh, nice.
Uh, yeah, it's because you're not limited really by the length on these printers, you're
Right.
limited by the width, but not
But
by the length. So it was fantastic. It really looked like these custom mosaics.
that is such an interesting process to get that effect. How great.
Yeah, it was really cool. It took a lot of R&D to figure it out, and we had really smart people working on it, but we got there in the end.
How big is your team on this? I mean, I can.
Gosh, on a movie like this, I think, there's probably, and it's never, it doesn't stay the size, as you
No,
know, it's like
no,
it's
it's not.
small and then it gets big and then it tapers off again.
Because
But
we don't have enough money for the graphic designer. That's usually
yeah,
the statement.
yeah,
Can't keep your graphics person on the whole time, which
that's right.
I'm going to
That's
get to talk
true.
about graphics, which are so huge in this, but they're
Yeah,
going to tell you, like, do you have to have a graphics person on this whole time? Like,
yeah.
yeah,
No, it's true.
yeah.
I guess at our biggest, just in the art department, I would say it was like somewhere between 40 and 50
Wow,
people, I
that's
guess, in the
great.
art department. And then set deck was probably around
That's great.
30 or so. And like it's because you're spread out. You're all, especially because, like I was saying earlier, where we needed to deliver the most technical kind of half of our sets in the first month. So the only way you can do that is if you're really heavy on crew during that period.
Yeah.
It's not my preferred way to work. I don't think it's anyone's preferred way to work. I'd love to have more time and like not have such fluctuation in the crew size, but like have the same people on for a longer period of time. But you have to scale it to the schedule, as you know.
And a lot of times too, they'll say, "We'll give you more time to get the perm sets done, and we'll go on location first." But that never helps me.
No, right.
So it doesn't really matter if we start on stage or location first. I always feel like I'm still shy time here. But
Sure. Of
yeah.
course.
Um, I
That's right.
I wanted to ask, do you know the name of the color blue that you used everywhere? I mean, this in
Um,
Fantastic Four
No,
seasons,
I don't
basically.
because it was not a name. It was custom mixed.
Something.
We made tens of blues and then from those we mixed between them as well. So I could dig up a paint number, but it
Uh,
wasn't a name. But
it's
yeah,
because coming up with that affects graphics and wardrobe and I mean so many things that I was wondering about like the discussion of that blue.
very complicated. It's
Yeah.
super complicated because also like there wasn't just one blue. There are a few different blues.
Mhm.
The wardrobe has a couple of different blues. Um, the paint in the lab is probably as close as we got to synchronizing with
Mhm.
wardrobe because it felt like it was a technical color in the way that the wardrobe was technical, whereas the Fantasticar is a very different blue, and the blue within the Excelsior is also different. And there's a few different blues within the Baxter apartment, as well.
Yeah.
So
Which is what you want because you don't want it to be all one tone. You need to play off of it and yeah.
yeah. But definitely we were, I think, very conscious, Alex, the costume designer, and myself and Jess, our DP, we had a lot of conversations early on about color and what made color feel period specific. Um, and 2001 was a big influence for us, certainly in this set we're looking at now,
The lab.
where these like bold kind of primaries, but even, with the blues. there are period feeling blues that have, I think first of all, like refraining from using metallic in a lot of things. And
Mhm.
another thing that's very important for me was that these were all in this lab that we're looking at in a lot of places, but especially here, all the paint has to be single stage, meaning there's no clear coat. The clear has to get mixed into the paint because that is how
Right.
fiberglass gel coats work. Whereas if you're doing a paint color and then you're doing a clear, it doesn't feel the same. It feels
Not
like an
gonna give you
automotive
that
paint job.
texture. It's not gonna give you that texture that you see, this like gloss that you see on the
Yeah, it won't look like plastic, which is what we wanted these things to all look like. We wanted these things to look like molded plastic. Whereas if you do it with a separate clear coat, it'll look like an automotive paint finish. It'll have depth to it, which is lovely, but it's not period correct. Of course, we did that with the Fantasticar, but not here. Here we did single stage paints. And we really looked at, for a long time, we considered actually doing real gel coat. Um, but it seemed like we weren't going to have as much control. So I ended up doing a paint finish.
no, the high gloss, especially in the room with such texture on the walls and the ceiling, makes it just pop so much more. It's so beautiful.
Hmm.
So beautiful. Um, did you in your design think about the powers that these characters have? And like I know that because there's scenes where he's like stretching to look for a piece of for a
Yeah.
tool or something. Like, were there special moments that you wanted in here in some of the sets for these characters?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that was really baked into the script. That was a really high priority for Matt, and it was definitely in the script. So, for instance, you can see here actually behind Reed Richards' head, there's like a tool panel that's on it's on these cables that because overhead there are these two gantry rails basically where things could move from one side of the lab to the other side as he's working on large projects. But we put that in there so that it could be at a height out of the way because he could always reach up and
Right.
grab. It's the same with the chalkboards, the width of the chalkboards. You actually see that in the film that he like doesn't at some point he's writing something and rather than uh move his body because he's running out of space, his arm just stretches.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, that's so fun. That's so fun to be able to have that thought in your head when designing of like, I can make this not real. I can make this,
yeah,
alter something for this character.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Um, quite blurry picture, but I wanted to show your
Mhm.
the ceiling and the wall texture and this
Sure.
thing is so gorgeous.
No, thank you. That was the idea behind this was that it's like he's doing these, you know, cutting edge experiments in this room, and sometimes he's probably using caustic or explosive techniques or chemicals. And so the room wanted to feel like it was like a bunker, like a fortified, absorptive bunker, where if something went wrong, the room could basically contain
Mm,
the damage. Um, and also it had this kind of secondary uh, effect of feeling a little bit like a cathedral, like a science cathedral or
yeah.
something, which was felt right. Um, and I always we knew very early on that it was going to be white because so many labs that you see. I mean, labs are a very common type of set that you have to deliver on kind of fantasy and science fiction films. And there's a vernacular that you see all too often, which is that they're like dark rooms with a lot of stainless steel and like blue lights.
Yeah.
So it's a very cliche. And so we knew we didn't want to do that. And we also knew that that wouldn't help tell the story of the period or of the kind of specificity of this world. So we found this kind of approach that was like it was going to be a white lab with these three bold kind of concentrations of color. And so when it came to the ceiling, we were trying to figure out how to do it, and the plasterers uh, in the UK ended up making the ceilings out of plaster. And the finish on them was so beautiful that instead of painting them, we asked them to burnish plaster in an area, could make a sample for us. And that burnished plaster was so beautiful that we decided not to paint it because the burnished plaster has this amazing movement in it where the high spots get burnished more, so they become shinier, and the low spots are burnished less, so they're less shiny, and so there's this movement within.
Yeah.
It's obviously a big monolithic expanse of white, but there's subtle movement both from the texture, the kind of ribbed texture, and then within that the kind of burnished surface of the plaster.
Yeah, it gives it so the little values in there that
Yeah.
when it's lit or when it's even dark, it has such great texture for lighting to get movement and like feeling out of. It's so gorgeous.
Thanks. Yeah, and I must admit also I've always been so enamored by Aiko Ishioka's um armor that she designed for Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula movie.
Oh.
That kind of ribbed armor that she had designed, and I've always loved that. I
Have
think
you
that was
watched that lately? Have you watched?
I it's been a few years. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie. I like went to the theater and saw it. Like I
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah.
And I recently watched it and I don't love it as much. I was bummed.
No, I don't remember loving the
I love
film as
it.
much as I loved the costume design
Yeah,
and the
the
and the
costume.
armor specifically. Yeah.
Yeah, that when he's in that armor in that scene with the blood and everything, it's
It's
fantastic.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. But yeah, I to try it out and see it.
Hmm.
But and then you have so many screens, whether it's on this on the ship or in the house or
Hmm.
in the on your back lot.
Yeah.
What was your concept with these screens? To get to.
So we designed all of these in the art department. We designed style frames and then we'd sent that to the playback people
Hmm.
who interpreted the style frames into motion, and then they'd send them back to us for review and approval. Um, but like the idea was to find to create a look that appeared to be the very beginnings of color television
Hmm.
technology and color computing technology, which is why when you're looking at the computers, you've got like black fields on the background and colored lines, but not colored screens,
Yeah.
not white fields with color. So I wanted to feel like, okay, they're past the black and white era, they're past the monochrome era. They're in kind of early technology, or that we could recognize as the beginnings of our modern computing technology. But it's just there.
The concept drawing that I'm showing now, one of your concepts here for the New York streets and
This
have
is actually a still from the film,
oh,
but
is
if
it? Do I
but
oh
there
I
is a concept.
this
This
one.
one is a concept.
This is
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah,
This they're so perfect. I got mixed
yeah.
up. This is the concept drawing, which is so like where you want to be. Like, look at your monorail. You got the one person cars. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
why
yeah.
can't our world be like this? And it's
I
all
know. It'd be
beautifully
so fun.
designed. It's so great. I don't
Yeah, this
understand.
beautiful illustration is done by Joe Studzinski, one of the brilliantly talented illustrators on my team. We have a lot of fun coming up with this, and this reflects what we really wanted for this world, which is that it's not a futuristic world wall to wall. It's two-thirds actually
Mm,
historic. It's about a third of it, the architecture here that's futuristic or retro-futuristic. And so this was there was actually a second image that went with this. And like these were really helpful
uh-oh.
images to find the kind of precise balance of
Mm,
futurism. How much futurism is too much futurism? Because you could lose that idea that you're set in the 60s if it was
right.
too monolithically futuristic.
but the and this concept and in the film of how you made the screens not just digital screens like we have today, but gave them the frame of television. So when you're looking at these giant like TVs in the sky,
Yeah.
it's so imaginative and so like, man, I would stop and watch TV on that. Like,
It was fun and funny. I mean, I think humor is an important part of this. You know, you have to find the wish fulfillment and the joy and the laughs. Um, I think
yeah,
it's
it
an
is
important
funny.
part of the genre.
There's a good amount of funny in the film too, so
Yeah.
that comes through also. Although dark, the this you can see the screens here turned off in part
Yeah,
of the thing, and
sure, exactly.
it's so interesting to see everything turned off of how
Hmm.
like life sort of stands still, but you're on a this is your back lot, right? This is
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
and so your build goes
30 feet.
30 feet.
It goes 30 feet, in some places a little bit higher, like that. We built that bottommost screen. We built it in its entirety, and it was about 50 feet to the top, I think.
This one.
The one in the center, in this one, you can't see it's behind.
Oh,
Yeah,
this.
it's over there. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, but yeah, most places we built to 30.
Wow. And then how far is your depth back?
God. So basically where your cursor is. Or is that no, that's where my cursor is. So you see, so
Like
I'd
there?
say, yeah, like so the set probably stopped
About,
about there.
yeah. Wow. That's huge.
Yeah.
Huge
Uh,
set.
yeah, it was a big set. Very
Yeah.
big set.
And this prep was like 4 months, 5 months, you said, for build?
No. I think we started in October and I believe we started shooting in around, gosh, I think it was April.
Oh,
No, it was later than that. I think it was later than that. Um, But I think, we had about 6 months, if I remember correctly.
this is a lot of
Um,
storefronts,
yeah.
a lot
Yeah,
of
no,
graphics, a lot of
it
graphics.
was, it was like 40 storefronts. And then this is just one of the backlots. They also did the Lower East Side. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
Jilly Aziz, my decorator, is like a
Fantastic.
genius. And
Oh,
her team is unbelievable. And they're just Jess Esmond and Nathan and Candice, like all these amazing Daisy, these amazing assistant decorators that she has on her team. Each of them was sort of like a lieutenant on one of these big sets, and uh, just the scope of work was so big, and they really brought all the life and layers and humanity and humor to the sets with that.
Were there any specific notes, like in dressing, like say the bathrooms or the
Mm.
nursery of like, are we, well, the nursery, I'm assuming, I don't know if you could buy that crib, but did you build? I mean, most of the furniture is kind of built in, but
Most of it was, much of it was built. And then much, another section of it was purchased and then modified. So
Mhm.
this crib, for instance, was something we purchased and then, but the paint job is custom.
Mm.
The mobile was made from scratch. The rugs we designed and printed ourselves. I think that dresser was something that was found or purchased or rented. But you can see on the left there's a wallpaper
Yeah,
there. That's the wallpaper that we designed for the nursery. So that's what's on the wall behind the dresser. Yeah.
so cute. Design your wallpaper. But yeah, as character design or, layering things.
Hmm.
There is like when you go to the different spaces, you can see like whose space is what. I mean, it's a great sense of layering the characters into built-in furniture even and not being able like it's kind of like they all kind of have the same, but it's different, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
she really built the character.
She really did. She did a great job.
Yeah, and the bathrooms I love like, "Ugh, why can't we? I don't know. I get so bummed. The spaceship. Now,
Yeah.
I did a season of For All Mankind, so I know about space and I know about buttons and I know
Uh-huh.
about all this. All this is all custom and everything, but um, it's a lot of work for spaceships.
Yeah. Huge
Concept
amount of work.
and getting it approved and camera angles and they're flying around and everything. She has the baby there. I mean, you guys had a lot going on in this ship.
Yeah. Well, those chairs that you can see, those were all custom designed and built. And building a chair is
Oh, I know.
one of the hardest things you could ever do. And from an engineering standpoint, an ergonomics standpoint, all those things are so incredibly hard. But we really wanted this all to follow this kind of this form language that we'd established, and these were inspired by Saarinen again, but also we're looking at Luigi Colani,
Mm.
um, whose work is so out there and interesting in this period. But yeah, I mean, basically, literally everything in there is built from scratch. All of it, and it's designed. This was, this was a tricky ship to design because there's different vernaculars. There's something that like a space shuttle, which has a certain look which is very much like a plane, because it's designed around the function of exiting atmosphere, exiting an orbit, the gravitational pull of a planet. And then there's something like a space station, like the ISS or like the space station in 2001. And that's very different because it's never in gravity. So it has a very different look. And this ship needed to feel at home in both places. And the other way this was sort of very different from something like, I don't know, uh, the Apollo craft or anything like that, or even the ISS space station, is that like those things all look and feel like prototypes, like they're figuring things out.
Right, right.
Whereas this needed to feel like space travel was commonplace for them, that they have done this enough that the industrial design is refined, like in the way it is in a commercial airliner. That they're not like figuring this out anymore. They have figured it out. So all of the surfaces are trim and tucked and beautifully molded because he's done this enough that he knows how many buttons he needs for what thing and where they're going to go exactly and all that.
That is so like logical in this film and makes so much sense because it is true about like the repetitiveness in realism of their buttons and like the Velcro
Mm,
and like all of that stuff that you're
mm,
doing and the tubes and
hmm.
that just making it more sleek is one thing, but it's still functional. They're
Yeah.
pushing one button to like get up to space. Like you've made it so clear, like we've got it going on here and we have good design. And it looks and it threads in with their apartment. Like I can see like even the little patterns over here or the patterns in the wall a little bit that they're all conducive to each other, which is nice.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. Yeah, like we needed to have the kind of padding and all of those things because they do work in zero G. So they are like bumping around and stuff. So we needed to have those hard corners you can see padded, or those like big blank surfaces on the back wall that are padded. But also you can see these like on these pilasters, these metal pilasters, there are these rails, and there's a little computer uh, on each one. Yeah, and the idea with that computer is that it could slide up and down these rails, and also
oh,
it
yeah.
could spin. So you could use this if you're upside down. If you're standing on the ceiling or whatever, you have access to um, the kind of a remote computer that can control all the systems in the ship as well.
Now why can't NASA just take a look at this? and make it pretty. We're meeting people up there. We
I know.
want it to
Make it
be
look a little
stylish.
better. Yeah.
Um, Let me get to I think the well this also backlot that you have
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
these
so that's Yancy Street, right? Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
and a ton of other street shops and dressing and
Yeah.
period cars and just a wonderful little slice of life that's like in the middle of this movie, which is nice to see, like regular people, not just focusing on the Fantastic Four the whole time is really great.
Yeah, that was the big part of Yancy Street is that you can see there is basically no retrofuturism in Yancy Street. Like you look at the at frame left, you can kind of sort of see
Yes.
a little piece of retrofuturism in the next neighborhood over, but
Yeah,
the idea is that Yancy Street is like the way it always was, that it's unaffected by the futurism. It's very traditional that way.
yeah. That's great. And the all the period clothes and everything, the
Oh
saturated
yeah.
colors and everything.
Alex's team was
So
amazing. They
great.
did a fantastic job.
You did get this weirdo. I didn't have the other ship in because I didn't want to like
Hmm.
talking about everything, but I loved his, subterranean union space
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
his weirdo place that he has underground.
Yeah. Yeah.
Spectacular. I was,
That was really fun, and that was a crazy location. It was like in a massive mine, about 3 hours from London, and it was a huge amount of work. But yeah, it was really fun to do something, there, and the world ship, Galactus's world ship, were very, very different looks from the rest of the movie, and it was nice to have those departures from the retrofuturism.
yeah, beautiful. I wanted to ask about graphics
Yeah,
and how important, not only that blue, but your design and everything that goes into all of this to you know, sell this film. Like
yeah,
it's a lot. I mean, and also your Zillow ad, which is fantastic. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I watched that like three times. I was like, this is such a great idea. This is such a
Oh,
great idea for production designers should like make a commercial of your sets or something. That's so great. How did that come
thank you. Yeah,
about?
that was really lucky to get to do that. That was
Yeah,
super
and you
fun.
directed it too, correct?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's great. Oh no, it was great, great.
This was really cool for graphics because usually I'm like the art department is not involved with marketing graphics at all, but we on this it was very different. Like we designed some graphics very early on. You can see these figures there
Mm.
that like really struck a chord with people, with Kevin and with the marketing team. And so they really ran with it and they asked us to do type treatments uh, for the actual logo of the film, and we ended up coming up with that.
Oh wow.
And so it was very gratifying to get to see the art department graphics actually get used in the marketing, which I've always thought, like, why don't they do this more often? I feel like we have such an in-depth understanding of the story because we're spending so much time on it. But so in this case, it was great that we got to see that all happen. And then, of course, they bring a lot of brilliant creativity to it after we're done and extrapolate from what we did. But it was also like great because there was a ton of like social marketing that they did that they would just like release some of our graphics from the art department. Like they finally, you know, they were like, oh, let's look at the art department server, and they found all of our stuff, and they used it as social content, which I think was great.
Yeah, on their Instagram, they've used so many things.
Yeah,
I was I it is such a weird thing because fonts and everything are so controlled at this point and like
yeah,
even if you I don't know if you have permission to use it or like you make up your graphic designer spends so much time making up his own font or
yeah,
like and then why not use it throughout why
yeah,
not have that common thread throughout the marketing and especially with this it just works so well it's everything's so conducive like plays with each other and plays off of each other. It's,
yeah. Thank you. We were really excited the way it went.
yeah. How was the Zillow commercial? Was that how long did you
Oh,
do?
that was so fun. Well, that was just a 1 day shoot. It was just
Oh,
a
wow.
single day. But no, it was great working with Marvel's kind of marketing creative team is a joy. I've done a bunch of stuff with them. My pals Evan and Andy over there. We've done a bunch of stuff for Loki. And we also did another one for this. We did a Little Caesars ad for Fantastic Four as well. And it's a joy. It's really fun to get to do that and build out the world a little bit more, even in through the marketing. It's
Yeah.
great.
Are you, because I have this discussion a lot with designers
Hmm.
about being present during post.
Hmm.
And you had a lot of like spaceships and things and everything. I can get back to that picture.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
how
we're not on during post
I know.
usually. I wish we were on more. We were on a little bit. They did this time, they did carve out a little bit of time for me. But what I usually do is I just before production wraps, I try to design everything. I try to design all the stuff that's going to be post as well in the illustration. So I keep the illustrators on longer to try to really provide a style guide for everything that's to come. Um, but Matt, our director, and Scott, our VFX soup, were like super respectful and were constantly checking in with me, asking my opinion about stuff. And I think that I'm very happy with the degree on this film, the degree to which the visual effects feels part and parcel of the designed world and doesn't feel like a whole different thing or doesn't feel like a kind of generic cliche thing. It feels really beautiful
Yeah.
and part of the world. And I credit Scott and his fantastic team for that.
Yeah, I don't understand how it's not just mandatory that a designer would stay on, even though you're not going to work every single day, but you're going to be
Yeah.
consulted and you should stay on for this as part of the look.
Yeah.
It's part of your baby.
Yeah.
So it's so weird that, I mean, even as you get cut off, you're done. You're out. You don't even get
Yeah.
production designers don't even get wrap days usually.
I know it's
They're like,
true.
out. Get
It's
out.
true.
Um, I do love the scenes when there's the fantastic science with Mr. Fantastic and so much
Hmm.
fun and the wallpaper's fantastic and I mean
That
everything.
was fun to do. Yeah.
Yeah, to like get the kids in there and those shows that I mean like Mr. Wizard and everything and like we used to watch like
Yeah.
getting kids excited about science. It's so great to have
Yeah. Yeah.
so fun. Um, I just want to say thank you. I have like a million other questions, but I'm dorking out too much with you. So
No, no worries. No